What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today is my discussion about the draft picks that Ron Rivera made this week, and at the same time, the undrafted free agent that we signed. I wanted to wait. Normally, I do a pick analysis after each round, after the rounds and everything, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see what Ron was going to do this year. And to me, he did some good things. I'll say this. He did some good things, and he did some things that I found very questionable. Now, I know that a lot of y'all don't want to hear certain things that I say because you guys don't want to admit that sometimes things aren't done the way they should be done. But to be quite honest, like I said again, there's some things that Ron did right, but there's also some things that I completely disagree with on this. So I'm gonna start at the top. Jamin Davis as the #1 overall pick. He's a guy that I do think that he's pretty good. I don't think that he's bad. I think that he has more development he still has to go through. My opinion, I thought Nick Bolton was a already more skilled guy at that middle linebacker position. But again, Jamin Davis is a guy who gives Ron flexibility. Nick Bolton doesn't give that much flexibility. He is a Mike linebacker. But Jamin Davis, he's a guy who could probably play all along the line. You can see his skill in regards to that. So this is not a bad pick. That's a pick that I would give a B+. In the second round, Samuel Cosmi, the tackle out of Texas. Again, this was one that I picked. This is one that I said Ron would actually snatch up. I felt that this was a Ron type of guy. Now, him going in the second round was kind of shocking, but it wasn't shocking because there was like a massive run on offensive tackles in the second round. So I saw that he had no choice but to snatch him up in the second round. Not a bad pick. Again, 2 straight picks, not bad picks. Now in the third. Now again, Samuel Cosmi, I give that a A grade. I give that an A grade. He can play both tackle positions, so I do give that an A grade. Benjamin St-Juste in the third. Here we are again, and I think this is now starting to show some consistency. Ron reaches in the third round for some reason. Benjamin St-Juste, again, this was a reach, especially when you're talking about who was still available in the draft. I mean, Ifeanyi Melifonwu, he was still on the board. Elijah Molden was still on the board. The guy that I thought that they would like, especially in regards to depth, Paulson Adebo, he was still available. And it was somebody else that was still available. Shaun Wade was still available. The fact that he went with Benjamin St-Juste is a surprise. I felt it was a reach. I think he would have still been available later in the draft. And I understand the pick because I think this is where they convert him to safety. The difference is that for him, you could have got that same type of skill and that same type of player in a guy like Hassam Nasruddin, who I think went in the 6th round. So not only that, to me, I didn't understand what was the need to grab him so early on. So for that, I understand that they like the fact that he has length. He can turn and swivel his hips and everything like that. I get that. I get that he does have a ranginess about him, but he isn't really a skilled guy, especially at the corner position. I just didn't understand why Ron had to reach for this guy. And now again, I'll understand if they switch him to safety, which is what I think they're going to do. But I felt that Hassam Nasruddin had more skill at the safety position than Benjamin St-Juste. So for that, I kind of give this a bad grade. I give this like a C, maybe C minus. Where he was picked at, I think it was a little too high, especially with everything you still had on the board. I was kind of surprised at that, but I didn't like that one too much. The next pick in the third round, they picked the North Carolina wide receiver. I said that they would pick a North Carolina wide receiver. I didn't think it would be this one, though. I thought that Daz Newsome was going to be that guy. Dyami Brown fell in the third round. So with that, Dyami Brown is a very nice pick. My only issue is that he's not the big receiver that you needed opposite Terry McLaurin. Nico Collins was still on the board. I understand that Nico Collins' inconsistency might have harmed him a little bit, but he was still a better selection than Dyami Brown. My concern with Dyami Brown is that he falls into the loop of, there's a lot of guys we have in this receiving core. Kelvin Harmon at this point in time can beat out all of them. And that is the thing that shocks me the most about this particular pick. That I would thought that they would go with a Nico Collins, who was big and had the speed, and he himself can also be a deep threat as well. But the fact that they went with Dyami Brown, again, this is a guy that could be beat out by Kelvin Harmon. And and you think about the guys that's on our team currently. What's the difference between him and Isaiah Wright? You understand his speed, his ability, but in comparison to some of the talent he's going to be facing, it's going to be hard for, he's going to make the team because he was chosen, but then it's like, how tough is this going to be of a competition for him in particular? So, but I did like the pick. I don't want people to think I didn't like the pick. I do like the pick. I do like the pick. I give that pick also, I'll give it a B plus. I'll give it an A. I think that was an A pick. The next pick in the fourth round, John Bates, the tight end out of Boise State. I get it. Blocker, could become a pass guy. My concern was that Brevin Jordan was still on the board. Brevin Jordan is a far better tight end than John Bates. Far better. I don't know what Ron's obsession with this guy is, but for me, I would have rather taken Brevin Jordan, being as though Logan Thomas will be a free agent next year, and there's no telling if we'll be able to bring him back. But you're talking about you're going to go with John Bates, and then on top of that, what happens with John Bates and you got Samish Reyes and his development? Like, what do you do with that? If you'd have brought in Brevin Jordan and you'd have had Logan Thomas, I think that Samish Reyes' development would have been a little bit better in regards to understanding pass catching and at the same time getting himself free. But John Bates, he is a fast guy, but I don't understand why you would take him before Brevin Jordan. I just don't get it. So for that particular pick right now, currently before the season starts, I'm giving this pick a D. I don't understand why you would take him. The next pick, Derek Forrest, the safety out of Cincinnati. The other safety at Cincinnati is the better safety. And I think that the only reason, I know he has an injury history, but he was the far superior safety than Derek Forrest. And the fact that they went with Derek Forrest instead of the other guy, I can't remember his name, but the fact that they went with him instead of the other one, I'm actually astonished by this. This is one of the picks that I give an F. Ron Rivera did not have to make this pick again. Hassam Nasruddin was still on the board. Nasruddin didn't go to, I think he didn't go until the 6th round. So the fact that they went with Dark Force. That shocks me. Now, I get it if it's just a special teams thing, but I just think that, again, you're talking about position flex and a guy who could be a backup and a starter. Nasruddin was a far better fit than Dark Force, and I'm absolutely astonished that Ron actually, in my opinion, was drafting special teamers. So that was a shock to me, especially from Dark Force to the rest of the picks. I felt that all of them were special teamers, but we'll see. I'll keep going. But Dark Force, I feel that was an F pick. Cameron Cheeseman, the long snapper from Michigan. Why did you have to draft this guy? I'm pretty sure you could have gotten this guy in the 7th round. There was no way that Cameron Cheeseman was going to go high. Even though he was the best long snapper in college, there's no way anybody's going to have me believe that this guy was going to be drafted this high. Again, this is a reach. This was a reach. That was a reach. Benjamin St. Juste was a reach. Dark Force was definitely a reach. Even John Bates. John Bates wasn't necessarily a reach, but he's a reach when Brevin Jordan is still on the board. So Cameron Cheeseman, I mean, I understand the point of getting a long snapper. I understand that you released Nick Sundberg, but Cameron Cheeseman, why you didn't have to draft him this high? There was no. It's hard for me to believe that Cameron Cheeseman was on somebody's radar this high in the draft. I just don't see it. So for this particular move, I give it a C- because yes, he was the best long snapper in college. The problem I have is that you didn't have to draft him this high. You should have taken something else there. In fact, Jonathan Cooper was still on the board, and also I think Cameron Sample was still around. There were other guys to take. Again, a shocker. William Bradley King, the end linebacker, I think he was out of Tulane. Something like that. One of the green and white jersey. But anyway, again, this is a guy. I just don't get this pick. He's technically a 3-4 linebacker who's like a situational pass rusher. I don't know. I don't know why you would take something like this. Again, Jonathan Cooper is a guy that was still, I think Jonathan Cooper was still on the board at this point. So the fact that Jonathan Cooper wasn't really looked at more in regards to this particular pick, I'm just surprised. Surprising to me. I will have to see how they implement him. I don't see it. I don't see it, and I'm kind of shocked by it because this was one that took me back. So for that, with the William Bradley King one, I give it a D. Shaka Toney, again, this is another guy. If they move him to weak side linebacker, this may work out for us. But that's the only way I see it working out for us. He cannot be a pass rusher. He cannot be a pass rush specialist. If they can get him to play weak side linebacker, he might be the steal of the draft. But if they can't get him to do it, this was a wasted pick. He's a very good tackler, no hands down about it. He can rush the passer. He's very quick. This is a very good player. The problem is that I'm hoping that they're planning on converting him to a weak side linebacker, because that's the only way that his speed and his talent is really going to work on this particular team. So that's that. With that one, I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a B. It'll be a B+ to an A if they do make the conversion for him to play the weak side. Last but not least in the draft is Dax Milne. I think his last name is Milne. the wide receiver out of BYU and Zach Wilson's favorite target. I he didn't face a lot of really tough talent at BYU. Again, this is where I have to question, what are you going to do with this guy? Because are you making him a special teamer, or what are you doing? Because, again, Dax Milne, he's a very good receiver, but you already got this plethora of receivers that almost seem similar to each other, because even with Dax Milne, he does fall into line with, again, the whole Isaiah Wright. He falls into that category. Along with De'Ami Brown and Kelvin Harmon. I mean, they all fall into that category. So I'm surprised that Ron took another wide receiver. I just don't. But again, this was towards the end of the draft, and I think that they were probably just selecting someone. But I'm a little concerned about that pick. He is a very talented guy. He runs routes very crisply. He does do a good job with sometimes getting separation, but that's against sub-level cornerback talent versus what he's going to face once he gets to the NFL. So that's going to be a very, very tough one when it comes down to it. Again, I don't know about this pick. So right now, currently, I'm going to give it a C- until we see what they do with him. I just don't understand it. Last but not least is the undrafted free agent that we signed, Jared Patterson, the running back out of Buffalo. Very solid running back, very good running back. He's a smaller Antonio Gibson. Now, I understand that a lot of people are going to go to the Buffalo game, Bowling Green game, where he had 301 yards rushing and stuff like that. That's fine, but he doesn't wow you at all. Like, he doesn't have anything about him that makes you say, oh, this is a fantastic running back. He does split out wide, which is fine, but at 5'9", he's a small guy. And you already have a bigger version of that guy in Antonio Gibson. This worries me even more, because the fact that you drafted guys similar to the guy you already have, I'm not sure what you expect out of the guy you have. Is this guy meant to push him, but he's going to see his size and be like, there's no way he can push him? So I don't know about this pick. He's a fairly good, he's a very good runner. I want to say that. I want to preface that. He's a very good running back. It's no doubt about that. But he's 5'9". He's 5'9", and he basically looks exactly like Antonio Gibson looked last year. So I mean, again, overall, the draft for Ron Rivera, Jamin Davis, I like that pick. Samuel Cosme, I understood that pick. Even though I will be honest with y'all, Trayvon Moore didn't go until later in the second round. Later in the second round or later in the second round. And to be quite honest with you, no, he went in the third round. To be quite honest with you, I would have rather went with Trayvon Moore over Samuel Cosme, because I really do feel that even with our tackle position, Trayvon Moore, I mean, you never get these type of game-changing safeties around ever. And the fact that they bypassed on him, that bothers me a little bit. And I'm a little concerned about that. I didn't understand it. The Benjamin St. Juste, again, second year in a row that Ron reached for a guy. De'Ami Brown, I like that pick. John Bates, Brevin Jordan was still there. I don't know what they're going to do with this guy. Derek Forrest, I hated that pick. Cameron Cheeseman, again, a pick that didn't need to be made that early. Bradley King and Tony, we'll see what happens with them. Milne, I don't know. Overall, to be quite honest, this draft for me is a C plus. I don't. There are a lot of things that has to happen to get me sold on the guys they drafted, because I'm really concerned about this. Because this, to me, is more of them drafting depth than them actually looking for guys that were going to make an impact. Now, don't get me wrong. Ron and them have a long history of making very good defensive backs, but for me, it's a C plus, y'all. It's definitely a C plus. Y'all let me know what y'all think. What grade would you give a lot of the Ron's draft? And at the same time, tell me what guys did you think that he missed on and he should have taken in this draft. Other than that, this has been your man John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.